Hello, good evening, my name is Joseph Filmography, and this is now my 7th time recording this video, and I wish I was joking. Here's the thing, I don't think it even needs to be said that I'm a bit of a Halo fan. I love Halo a lot, and I'm gonna save the detailed version of this for the Halo Infinite video, but the short version is Halo has been a huge part of my life for most of my life that I can actually remember well, because I got into Halo at a very young age, and Halo is what started me on the path to the things I'm trying to do now and in my future. So it's a little bit important to me. And it was very cool seeing Infinite be a return to form to Halo. I distinctly remember when I first saw the Infinite reveal, and the feeling I got immediately that the Halo I know and love is coming back. And I was only like 8 years old in the days of Reach and like 4 in the days of Halo 3, so Halo coming back was big news. I had never been into Halo at a time where it was really, really big. And I've been hearing things about this Halo show, as the rest of you have, for years now. And you know, it's kind of been an off and on thing, like maybe this will be good, maybe it won't, I don't know. And it's gone through a lot of iterations. But when we first started really seeing stuff about this show a few months back, I was hesitant. When they were first showing off really, really short snippets on Instagram in preparation for the trailer, I was interested. I was very, very interested. And I had been hearing a lot about this show that sounded like it wouldn't be good. But Halo is special to me, and I was like, this is Halo, you know. Even if it's not great, I'm willing to give it a chance. But as you all know, I am a sound guy. That's my big thing. And so my top criteria for this show, literally all I was going to be judging it on, is the music good? If the music sounds like Halo music, I will be interested in this show. That is all they need to win me over. And that trailer came out, and instantly, in the first 4 seconds of that trailer, I knew this is not going to be Halo. Disregarding whether the show is objectively good or bad, it won't be Halo, and that's bad. And I watched the rest of the trailer, and I was like, parts of this look kind of promising, but this isn't Halo. It's just not. The Elite's armor isn't Halo. And the Covenant lady, at first I was like, that's wrong. And then I saw someone's video, I don't remember who, but someone was like, think about this for a second. This is a TV show, not a movie. They don't have the budget to have all of the antagonists be animated the whole time, and it look good. And I was like, okay, I'll bite, you know. I'm willing to accept that, as long as it maintains the spirit of Halo, which this show didn't. At least from what the trailers were showing, it didn't. Because again, my standards were not that high. I wasn't asking much, I just wanted it to sound like Halo. Because as long as it sounds like Halo, it'll feel at least somewhat familiar. But it didn't. And I sat down and I recorded a video for like an hour and a half. I was recording. And I finished recording. And my mom asks me, she's like, are you really gonna post that? And she's like, look, you're a very passionate person. Halo is something that matters to you a lot. But if you post this online, you're probably just gonna get clowned on. And I sat back and I thought for a minute and I was like, yeah, she's probably right. So I gave it a little bit. I gave it like an hour. I was looking at other people's thoughts on the trailer. I was watching, you know, the Late Night Gaming and Hidden Xperia and all of them. And, I was watching the trailer again and again, and sort of having more thoughts on it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna record a second video talking about how I'm cautious, but optimistic? Not even, that's probably not it. That's not a good description of the feelings I was feeling, but I was feeling hopeful. I was cautiously hopeful, and I recorded for about another 45 minutes, and I didn't want to post that one either, because I was like, look, I hope, for one, no one's gonna watch this, so it doesn't matter anyways, and two, I hope it's not necessary. I hope this show comes out and proves me wrong, because in fairness, trailer music is always bad. Everything has bad trailer music. I mean, even Halo Infinite's, for some of its trailers, it was fine at best. And I guess that's about it, and I think that's about it from the first trailer. And that was it until the show actually came out. And I was sitting there with my fingers crossed. I was like, please don't let me be right. Please let the actual show have Halo music. But if episode 1 of this show showed promise and it felt like Halo, and it had Halo music, I would be okay with paying for Paramount. Not for long, because I hate streaming services and I wasn't gonna dump a bunch of money into another one, but at least for the show's runtime, yeah, I'd pay for Paramount. And then episode 1 comes out, and I'm watching all of these videos on it, and it's like, well, I was right. I was right. I knew this show wouldn't have Halo music, and I knew it would be bad. And both of those things happened. I'm not gonna knock the show's composer or anything, but if you're making a Halo show and the music isn't Halo music, or even memorable, that's a problem. That's a big problem. And as I've been looking at this show, I have only seen the first episode in its entirety. That's the only one I watched because it's the only one they posted on YouTube. And again, I'm not paying for Paramount Plus to watch a bad show. Here's the thing. I've seen a couple big things with the Halo show. The first big takeaway is the people who are like, this is not Halo, this is bad, I hate it, I despise this, this sucks. The second group is the other Halo fans who are like, you have to look at this as something separate from the games, you're just missing out by trying to think it's the same thing as the games. And you have the third group of people who have never played the games, who don't really care about Halo, and they watched the show, and they're like, this is mid, at best. It's mid. And it's like, okay, here's my thoughts, just right off the bat. If your goal is to piss off Halo fans by making it not Halo at all, you'd think they'd be trying to appeal to a broader audience of people who don't care about Halo. But those people think it sucks. So which is it? And I'm not trying to knock everyone who's working on this show, but the reason I'm making this video at all is because the Halo show is a part of a much larger problem that I haven't seen really anyone talk about yet. The Halo show is exactly what's happening with every other beloved franchise right now. We live in a world where everything is about franchises. I mean, think about it. Other than Elden Ring, what is the last original IP that was launched that was really, really successful? Not a part of Marvel or Star Wars or freaking, I don't know, Mario. What can you think of? Probably not that much, because everything is just a part of a franchise, because it's way easier to add something to something that already exists than it is to make something entirely new. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying franchises are bad. I'm not saying that at all. I love Halo Infinite, and I hope they make many, many campaign DLCs for Halo Infinite. As long as they're good. The problem we're seeing is all of these beloved franchises just being taken and crumpled up and turned into something completely and totally different and just slapping the brand name on it. Look at the Lord of the Rings show that Amazon is making. That show, everything about that show screams, we don't really care that much about Lord of the Rings. Because not everything needs a remake. In fact, I would say there's a lot of movies that you absolutely should not, under any circumstances, remake. The Lord of the Rings is the prime example of that. Those are basically the definitive films. There is nothing that will ever surpass the artistic scope and excellence of those films. There's nothing that will. Those are the films. That's why everything in fantasy draws from The Lord of the Rings. And with those movies being as monumental to so much of our culture as they are, it's not right recasting those characters to different actors. Even if you're not trying to retell the same story, there are some characters that you just shouldn't recast. If you're gonna add anything to The Lord of the Rings, what you ought to do is take the original footage from those films and redo the visual effects. That's it. I just recently went back and rewatched those movies with my brother, and out of all three of those movies, there were 3 individual snippets that I can distinctly remember looking at and thinking, that doesn't really look great. There was a fireball that Saruman launched, there was Legolas on the Oliphant, and there was one singular shot that I wish I had never noticed, where when wargs were running across hills, their shadows didn't quite line up with the hills. That's it. That is it in those movies. Other than that, they're perfect, or at least as close to perfect as you can reasonably get. My point is, you shouldn't be recasting those characters anyways, much less jumbling the entire timeline into one big mess so you can capitalize off of as much as possible. Another example of people not caring about The Lord of the Rings, but caring about the money that comes with it. Here's another example I've been seeing pop up a lot lately: Nintendo Switch Sports. Here's the thing. If I had to choose between this system and this system, I would genuinely have to think about that for a while, which is a problem, because this one is way newer, so you would think that the newer system would have everything this has and more, but it doesn't. When I turn on my Nintendo 3DS, I'm greeted with a lovely little home screen with some fancy little graphics, some little hopping characters, some nice visuals, and some nice little music. When I turn on my Nintendo Switch, I'm greeted with silence. I mean, this home menu is... No, I don't want to update. That's it. You look at the 3DS home menu and it's filled with little charm. It has pre-installed games to show off the software. It has a Mii Maker on the home menu with music. My 3DS was my first real video game system, and not this one. It was the broken one in its box over there, but my 3DS was the first. I never had a Wii. I just had this thing. But even not having a Wii, even just having a 3DS, I distinctly remember several times where my friends and I would all huddle around this thing and make Miis together. Because it's fun. When you pop open the Mii Maker on this thing, it gives you a nice little splash screen, and it's filled with charm. It's got some nice little music, you can look at your Mii characters, it's nice. Look, I made Indiana Jones. The thing that's special about the 3DS is not just the fantastic games on it, but the fact that I have countless memories from this system from things that aren't even games. Kids growing up with the Switch have... that, I guess. I mean, making Miis on this thing feels... dead. And the point of this video isn't just to bash the Switch, because there's a lot of great on this thing. The games on this are phenomenal. But the reason I bring this up is look at Nintendo Switch Sports. I have been complaining about the lack of charm on the Switch for years, and Nintendo Switch Sports just shows me that I was right. Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort were powerful titles. People have a lot of great memories from those games. I have a lot of great memories from those games, and I didn't even have a Wii. I just remember from playing it at a friend's house. I haven't played the sword fighting game mode from Wii Sports in years. It's probably been since like 2017 since I've played that, and I still remember the music from it. That's the type of power those games had. So Nintendo, having no charm or Mii support on the Switch, decides they're gonna take the Wii Sports name and slap it onto this generic Google-looking game, where it has worse versions of the games from Wii Sports, with worse characters, and all of the soul sucked out. Everything we've seen from Nintendo Switch Sports just feels soulless. And the problem is, all of these things that I'm talking about, I genuinely, honestly hope that all of them fail. Because all of them are just greedy cash grabs to take advantage of a certain franchise's popularity and milk it dry until there's nothing left. What's crazy to me is that Dark Souls 3 came out in 2016 and literally laid out flat, plain for everyone to see. This is what happens when a franchise goes on for too long. The entire game was about a franchise going on for too long until it dies and no one cares anymore. Dark Souls 3 was about why we'll never get a Dark Souls 4, and that makes it so much more impactful. And yet still, in a post-Dark Souls 3 world, we see so many franchises getting milked dry. Why can't everything be Dark Souls 3? Look at From Software. Look at what they did. Miyazaki didn't want to make a Dark Souls 4, which is why the entirety of Dark Souls 3 is about finality. So what did they do? They took some of the same ideas from Dark Souls, and they made a completely new game with it. They made Elden Ring. Elden Ring is not related to Dark Souls at all, except for the Moonlight Greatsword, patches, and the Morning Star. Those are the only connections that I can think of. And yet, taking a similar idea and making something new with it, Elden Ring is their most successful game yet. Elden Ring has surpassed the franchise which holds the ultimate game of all time. That's big. That's powerful. And yet, despite Elden Ring's success, no one else is catching on. It's absurd to me, because Halo just recovered from being something unrecognizable as Halo. And now the Halo show comes out, and I'm seeing videos pop up in my YouTube recommended saying Master Chief finally puts his helmet back on in the Halo show. It's not that I'm against it being non-canon, it's not even that I'm against Master Chief taking off his helmet. I knew that was inevitable in a show. I'd rather him not. Frankly, I'd rather it be a stunt guy in the suit and Steve Downes voicing him. But I think Pablo Schreiber, from what I've seen, does a pretty good Master Chief, and I could accept Pablo Schreiber as Master Chief if he felt like Master Chief. If the show felt like Halo, I'd be fine with it, but it doesn't. So I hope once everyone's Game Pass deal expires, they're not gonna pay for more Paramount Plus, and I hope that after everyone's Game Pass is done, the people in charge of the Halo show realize, oh crap, we've messed up. Because they have. They just have. I don't want to bash anyone's creative project, but like, this isn't good. And I know there are probably people who were working on the show who are really passionate about Halo, but the people in charge aren't. And frankly, the people in charge need a wake-up call. We need to stop having Halo shows. We need to stop having Lord of the Rings on Amazon shows. We need to stop having Nintendo Switch Sports. And the solution is simple. If something is bad, don't put money in it. Don't buy Nintendo Switch Sports when it comes out. You already have Wii Sports, why bother? Don't watch the Lord of the Rings show when it comes out. You could just watch the original movies. Don't pay for the Halo show. You could just play the games. And the only way to actually solve this problem is to stop funding the problem. It's not like it's impossible. You just have to not waste your money on it. And that's about it. I don't really have anything else to add. See ya.